Darkness swallowed the stars. The last free worlds burned one after another, and the galaxy had almost stopped believing in miracles. Fleets of alien conquerors filled every sky, their metal warships glowing red like demons in the void. Cities on hundreds of planets had fallen silent, and resistance was dying out fast. In a forgotten corner of the galaxy, a small rebel ship drifted near a dying sun. Its crew of mixed species sat in silence, too tired to speak. Commander Reth looked out the cracked viewport. His scales burned and armor scarred, he whispered softly. If only the humans were still here. Once, long ago, humans had stood beside them. But that was centuries ago. People now said Earth was gone. Destroyed in the first purge, Reth refused to believe it, even when every record said humanity was extinct. He still sent out a signal once every year, the same message into the dark. This is the resistance. If you can hear us, we need you this time. The signal had vanished into space again. No reply came. Days passed, food was low, morale was worse. The rebels prepared for their final fight. Alien generals sent a message demanding surrender. Laughter filled the enemy channel. Your galaxy dies today, they said. Reth felt anger but also helplessness. Then in the middle of silence, the ship's radar beeped once. A faint pulse, small but rhythmic. Everyone froze. It's a return signal, whispered the technician. Reth rushed to the screen. The pulse was old, encrypted in an ancient Earth pattern. One not used in centuries. Translate it, he ordered. Lights flickered, static roared, then a single line appeared. Glowing blue. We heard your call. Nobody spoke. It couldn't be real. One pilot laughed nervously. It's probably a trap. Reth shook his head. No. Humans never joke with hope. The pulse grew stronger. Ships on nearby scanners began reporting strange readings. A massive energy surge building behind the dark nebula. The alien fleets detected it too. They turned their cannons toward the void, mocking, "Whatever comes, it dies," their commanders said. But deep down, unease spread among them. Something was coming, something vast. Then, space itself trembled. Lightning flashed across the black sky. No one understood how thunder could exist in the vacuum, but they heard it, a deep rolling sound, as if the universe itself was waking up. The rebels ran to the windows, and there they saw it, shapes emerging from hyperspace. Dark silhouettes wrapped in glowing light, massive ships unlike anything they had seen. The alien admirals screamed for retreat. "Identify those vessels," one shouted. Scanners failed to read their energy. Reth stared with tears in his eyes. "I know that design," he whispered. "That's Terran metal." One of the young officers gasped. "Humans? That's impossible." But the impossible was now real. As the lead ship's engines roared to life, its hull bore a symbol, an old mark long forgotten, a blue circle with a silver thunderbolt. The insignia of Earth's 7th Fleet. The comms burst alive. A woman's calm voice echoed across every channel in the galaxy. "This is Admiral Kara Voss of the human fleet," she said. "To all free worlds, hold the line." Silence followed, then cheers. Hope spread faster than light. Reth fell to his knees, whispering through shaking hands. They came back. The darkness that had swallowed the stars now trembled before the thunder of humanity's return. And in that moment, the galaxy remembered what it meant to hope again. The alien fleets panicked as the unknown armada pushed through the nebula. Sensors overloaded, communications jammed, and panic spread like fire. Commanders shouted for reinforcements, but their signals vanished in static. From the burning skies of Valerian to the cold moons of Drakkar, every surviving soldier looked up and saw thunder splitting the stars apart. The human fleet had arrived. The ships moved in perfect silence, colossal in size, built of black alloy that shimmered like liquid metal. Engines glowed blue-white, cutting through the void. At the center of the formation flew a massive flagship, its hull scarred yet unbroken, the HFS Resolute, leading humanity's return after centuries of exile. Inside the bridge, Admiral Kara Voss stood tall, her expression calm, eyes sharp as steel. "Begin transmission," she said, and the message echoed across the galaxy. "This is the human fleet. We heard your cry. We are here to fight." Her words spread like a storm. Resistance fighters who had lost faith began shouting, crying, their scanners filled with thousands of human signals. Fighter wings, carriers, dreadnoughts, each one a symbol of hope. Commander Reth's ship shook as a formation of human destroyers passed above them, the thunder of their engines rippling through the void. His crew stood frozen, speechless. One whispered, "They're real." They actually came. The alien armadas didn't wait. They opened fire. Massive plasma bolts cut through space. Explosions filled the blackness, but the humans did not retreat. Their shields glowed brighter than suns, returning fire with precision. Hundreds of alien ships exploded in seconds. The galaxy had not seen such power in generations. Every move of the human fleet felt like vengeance and mercy combined. Aboard the Resolute, Admiral Voss watched the enemy collapse. She turned to her officers. "Target the command cruiser." One officer nodded. "Weapons locked." She raised her hand slowly, then dropped it. Fire. A beam of pure white energy erupted from the Resolute, slicing through the alien command ship like paper. Silence followed. Then debris scattered like falling stars. In the rebel outpost, Reth listened to the comms. The aliens were retreating. His hands trembled. "They're winning," he whispered, but deep down he knew. This was only the beginning. One of his engineers ran to him holding a tablet. "Sir, the humans want to link with our systems. They're downloading battlefield data." Reth nodded. "Do it, they're our allies now." Within moments, human AIs began scanning maps, predicting enemy movements, organizing counterattacks faster than any living mind could. Admiral Voss stood by the main display, watching red dots disappear one by one. Her voice was calm but heavy. "We were gone too long. Too many worlds fell." One officer replied softly, "We'll get them back." "Ma'am?" She looked out at the stars. "Not all, but enough." On the surface of Valerian, civilians emerged from bunkers for the first time in years. They saw human ships flying overhead, dropping supplies, medical drones, and banners with the old Earth symbol. A young alien girl pointed to the sky, asking her mother, "Who are they?" The woman smiled through tears. "The ones we stopped believing in." The galaxy began to change that day. Word of the human fleet spread to every system. Slaves whispered about freedom. Soldiers deserted the enemy ranks, and leaders who once mocked humanity now trembled in fear, because thunder had returned to the stars, and everyone knew the storm was just beginning. The battlefield slowly quieted, wreckage drifting like ghosts among the stars. The alien fleets had scattered into the void, and for the first time in decades, silence carried hope instead of fear. Commander Reth's ship approached the great flagship HFS Resolute. Escorted by human destroyers that gleamed with strange blue light, every rebel on board watched in awe, their hearts racing. No one had seen a human in generations. Stories of them had become myths, and now those legends were real. As Reth's shuttle docked with the Resolute, the airlock hissed open, and the first human he had ever seen stepped forward. The man wore sleek armor, dark gray with silver lines that pulsed faintly like veins of light. His face was calm, his eyes bright blue, but there was something different in them, something more than human. "Commander Reth," the man said, his voice deep and steady. "Welcome aboard, I am Captain Hale." "Earth Defense Command," Reth bowed slightly. "It's an honor." He followed Hale through the long metallic corridors of the ship, walls alive with glowing streams of data, the hum of power beneath their feet. Human crew moved with silent precision, their eyes all the same faint shade of blue. The rebels whispered to one another, some frightened, some fascinated. "They look enhanced," one muttered. Reth noticed the same thing, they were human. Yes, but changed somehow. Faster, stronger, sharper inside the command chamber. Admiral Kara Voss stood before a massive holomap of the galaxy. Her presence commanding yet calm, she turned as Reth entered. "Commander, your people held out longer than anyone thought possible," she said. "You've earned our respect," Reth hesitated, then asked, "How did you find us after all this time?" Voss smiled faintly. "We never stopped listening. Commander, the universe is loud, but hope has a sound of its own." She gestured toward the map, showing the spreading red zones of enemy control. "This empire calls itself the Valcora Dominion. They conquered half the galaxy while we were gone. We've come to end their reign." Reth nodded. "You've returned just in time," but her expression darkened. "No, we're late. Billions are already gone." The meeting ended with a shared mission. Humans and rebels would unite, a new alliance born under thunder outside the chamber. Reth watched human engineers at work, their machines responding to gestures and voice commands, energy bending around their tools like living light. He couldn't help but ask, "How did you create this technology?" Captain Hale looked at him quietly. "We didn't create all of it," he said. "Some of it. We found." That night, Reth walked through the hangar, gazing at human starfighters shaped like silver arrows. He overheard a pilot whispering to another, "Do you think they'll tell the aliens the truth?" The other shook her head. "They're not ready." When Reth approached, they stood stiffly, silent. He felt a chill, something hidden beneath the pride of their return. In distant space, the remnants of the alien dominion regrouped. Their leaders furious and terrified. One shouted, "Humans should not exist." Another replied, "Then why do our weapons fail against them?" Across the stars they began building something vast, something that pulsed with dark energy. A weapon meant to shatter hope once and for all. Back on the Resolute, Admiral Voss watched the data feeds, her face unreadable. "They'll come again. Stronger," she said to Hale. "And when they do, the galaxy must stand ready." Hale nodded. "We'll fight beside them, but will they still call us human?" Her eyes dimmed for a moment. "They must," she whispered, "because if they don't, then we came back as something else outside the viewport." The stars shimmered, and for the first time in centuries, two species looked upon the same sky, not as strangers, but as survivors preparing for the storm yet to come. The next days passed in tense silence across the stars. The human fleet spread through liberated systems, rebuilding defenses, healing survivors, and preparing for the next inevitable strike. The galaxy had been broken for so long that most people could not believe what they saw. Humans walking among them again, armored, disciplined, carrying themselves with quiet strength. Wherever they went, hope followed like a shadow, but so did mystery. Commander Reth spent more time aboard the HFS Resolute, learning from the human officers. They shared strategy, technology, and medical aid. Yet he noticed one strange thing. None of them removed their helmets for long, and when they did, their eyes glowed faintly blue even in darkness. Once he asked Captain Hale if it was from enhancement. Hale only smiled slightly and said, "Let's just say, time changes us all." That answer didn't comfort him. Admiral Kara Voss gathered the Alliance leaders in the Grand War Room. The holomap displayed the galaxy filled with red zones under Dominion control. "We have pushed them back from 6 sectors," she said. "But they are building something. Something big." A Valerian scout confirmed the rumor. "They call it the Starbreaker, a weapon that can destroy entire suns." The room fell silent. Reth's voice broke the quiet. "If they finish it, there will be no galaxy left to save," Voss nodded. "Then we finish this first." The fleet prepared to move toward the nebular gate, the last stronghold before the Dominion's heart. Reth stood on the bridge of his ship watching human cruisers align in formation. They moved like living thunderclouds, slow and majestic, their engines glowing with energy so powerful that nearby space bent around them. It felt less like machines and more like storms given purpose. As they entered the nebular gate, the Dominion awaited. Thousands of enemy ships arranged in perfect formation. The alien general's voice echoed through the channels. "You return to die, humans." Admiral Voss didn't answer. She looked calm, almost sad, then said softly, "You've forgotten what thunder means." Her ships fired first. Beams of white light tearing through the enemy like lightning through clouds. Explosions painted the nebula in blue fire. The battle raged for hours, enemy waves kept coming. But the human fleet refused to yield. Human pilots fought with fierce precision. AI drones danced between plasma bolts, and the Allied rebels followed behind, striking at weak points. Commander Reth's crew shouted in disbelief as each human ship seemed to defy destruction. "They're unstoppable," one cried. Reth only whispered. "They're desperate," inside the Resolute. Admiral Voss stood before a console marked with strange runes, lines of ancient human code mixed with alien symbols. She placed her hand over it and whispered something no one else could hear. The ship's energy output spiked, shields flaring brighter. Captain Hale looked uneasy. "Admiral, this power, it's not standard tech," she replied. "It's what kept us alive beyond the edge of the galaxy." At the height of the battle, enemy reinforcements poured in. 10,000 ships surrounding the humans. Even their mighty weapons began to falter. Reth's ship was hit, systems failing. He shouted across comms, "We're losing control!" And then he saw it. A wall of blue light forming ahead, thousands of human ships linking their cores together, merging their energy into one great storm. They're combining power. His pilot gasped. The storm erupted, a roar of thunder shaking the void. Waves of energy rolled outward, erasing enemy fleets like sand in a hurricane. When the light faded, silence returned. The Dominion's armada was gone. Only wreckage remained, but victory brought unease. Reth looked at the battlefield and whispered, "That power." It wasn't human in the command deck. Admiral Voss looked out at the stars, eyes glowing brighter than ever. "Maybe not anymore," she said softly. The fleet sailed onward through the wreckage, not as conquerors, but as something the galaxy could no longer understand. Half myth, half storm. and fully human only in name. The galaxy burned again, not from defeat but from the fires of awakening. Across thousands of worlds, people whispered stories about the thunder that tore through the void, about the fleet that moved like gods. Humanity's return had become legend within days. Yet deep within the HFS Resolute, the mood was not triumph, it was dread. Admiral Kara Voss stood before the star map, watching red zones expand faster than they should. The Dominion was regrouping faster than logic allowed. Every hour new fleets appeared, fueled by something unknown. Commander Reth arrived from the rebel outpost, exhaustion in his eyes. "We crushed their main armada," he said. "How are they still multiplying?" Voss turned slowly. "Because we missed what they were protecting." She tapped the map, revealing a hidden signal deep inside the Orion Veil, a cluster of dying stars. "They've completed part of the Starbreaker." Her voice was calm, but her fists trembled. "It's active." The room fell silent. The data confirmed it. The Dominion's ultimate weapon wasn't just theory anymore. It was drawing energy directly from suns one by one, feeding itself, growing, preparing to unleash destruction on a galactic scale. Captain Hale leaned closer to the projection. "If they fire that thing once, it'll tear a hole through hyperspace. Everything within 3 systems will die." Voss nodded. "Then we have one chance." Orders were sent across the fleet. Every human ship prepared for a single massive jump toward the Orion Veil. This was no longer about victory, it was about survival. Human engineers worked without rest, upgrading shields and energy cores. While Allied aliens loaded their last torpedoes, no one slept. Even the stars seemed to dim as the fleet readied for battle. Reth watched the human soldiers move with eerie focus. No laughter, no fear, just quiet determination. He asked Hale, "Do your people feel anything anymore?" Hale's answer was soft. "We feel everything. We just learned not to show it." When the time came, Admiral Voss addressed the fleet. Her voice transmitted across every ship. "This is our stand," she said. "The Dominion thinks fear will rule forever, but fear ends today. We fight not for conquest, not for revenge, but because hope deserves thunder." Across the fleet, lights dimmed, engines hummed. Then the void itself twisted as thousands of ships vanished into hyperspace. The Orion Veil appeared before them like a nightmare, dark suns bleeding red light, and at its center floated the Starbreaker, a massive ring of metal the size of a moon. Surrounded by storm clouds of energy, it pulsed with power that bent gravity itself. Reth's heart pounded as he whispered, "That's not a weapon. It's alive." The humans didn't hesitate. They moved like they had seen this before, their ships forming a wide circle around the veil, launching drones that disappeared into the storm. The first wave hit. Dominion defense fleets swarmed in from every direction. Plasma fire streaked across the stars. Human ships countered with beams so bright they split reality itself. But the Starbreaker began to awaken. Arcs of lightning crawled across its ring. Charging to full capacity, alarms blared. "It's powering up," shouted Hale. Admiral Voss stood still, eyes glowing with calm fury. "All ships, push forward." The fleet advanced into chaos. Ships exploding, debris spinning like sparks. Reth's vessel lost 2 engines but kept moving. "Stay with them," he shouted. The humans didn't retreat even as the Starbreaker fired its first pulse. A wave of energy tore through the front line, wiping out dozens of ships, and still they charged. The HFS Resolute broke through the storm, heading straight toward the weapons core. Inside the command deck, Voss whispered a single command. "All remaining ships, prepare for final strike." She looked at the stars one last time and said softly, "If humanity dies today, we'll die making thunder." The fleet tightened formation. Engines burning brighter than suns, the Starbreaker loomed ahead, pulsing with deadly light, and the human fleet dove straight into its heart, carrying with them the last hope the galaxy had left. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace in a storm of light, their arrival shaking the very fabric of the Orion Veil. Energy waves rippled across dying stars, bending time and shadow. At the center of it all glowed the Starbreaker, a ringed monstrosity built from dead suns, its surface alive with veins of crimson lightning. The moment the fleet appeared, the Dominion unleashed everything it had. The void filled with fire and chaos began. Admiral Kara Voss stood at the command deck, eyes fixed on the weapon ahead. "All ships, maintain formation Delta 3, she said calmly. Her voice unshaken, though the bridge trembled under impacts. Captain Hale monitored the power readings. "It's drawing energy faster than our sensors can calculate," he warned. If it fires again, we lose half the fleet. Voss didn't blink. Then we make sure it never fires again. Commander Reth's ship fought beside the humans, weaving through debris and wreckage. His crew shouted coordinates and warnings. Explosions painted their viewports orange. "Stay behind the human line," Reth commanded. The sight ahead left them breathless. Hundreds of human warships formed a spiral, channeling energy into one unified pulse. Their engines burned white-hot, thunder rolling through the vacuum. No one had ever seen such discipline. The Dominion's flagship released a barrage of plasma storms. Tearing through human shields, several cruisers exploded, debris scattering like falling stars, but the humans didn't stop. Every loss was met with retaliation, precise and merciless, Reth's second officer whispered. "They fight like machines," Reth shook his head. "No, machines don't fight with this kind of fury." He watched as one human battleship rammed a Dominion dreadnought head-on, both ships vanishing in blue fire. Inside the Starbreaker, dark energy pulsed. The weapon's core awakened fully. A wave of light began to spread, burning the edges of reality itself. "It's charging," Hale shouted. "If it fires now, everything within the system dies." Voss stood silent for a heartbeat, then gave a single order: "Prepare the storm protocol." The crew hesitated, fear in their eyes. "Admiral, that will destroy the Resolute." She looked toward the distant stars. "Then let it." Every human ship began transmitting high-frequency signals, merging their energy cores, their lights turning from blue to pure white. The void flickered, their power output climbing beyond safety limits. Reth's ship shook violently as readings spiked. "They're overloading their own cores," his engineer cried. Reth's voice was low. "They're going to use themselves as a weapon." The Admiral activated the final command. The fleet's formation tightened. Thousands of ships linked by invisible threads of light, forming a circle around the Starbreaker. "For all who still live," she whispered, pressing her hand on the control crystal. "For all who still dream." Hale closed his eyes beside her. "For humanity." And then the storm erupted. A shockwave of pure white energy burst outward, engulfing the Starbreaker, consuming Dominion ships like dust. The light spread until the entire sector glowed. Every shadow erased, every sound replaced by roaring thunder. Planets trembled and time seemed to stop. The power of 1,000 human hearts unleashed at once. When the light faded, silence fell. Debris drifted like ash, half the human fleet was gone. The Starbreaker's massive ring cracked and fell apart, its core dimming into darkness. Reth's ship floated in the wreckage, systems failing. He opened a damaged comm channel. "Admiral Voss, do you copy?" Static replied, then a faint voice, soft as a whisper. "Hope endures," and then silence again, all across the galaxy. The storm's echo was felt. The Dominion's network collapsed. Their ships lost command. Their worlds plunged into confusion. People looked to the stars where the thunder had come from, and wept. They did not know if humanity had survived. But they knew one thing. The Starbreaker was gone, and the galaxy still lived, because the humans had kept their promise. They had arrived like thunder, and they had left behind light. The light from the destroyed Starbreaker faded slowly. Leaving behind a galaxy bathed in silence, stars flickered weakly in the ruins of the Orion Veil. Broken ships drifted in the endless dark, and the echoes of the final battle whispered across the void. Commander Reth's vessel floated among the debris, its hull torn, its engines dying, but somehow, he and his crew were still alive. He looked out through the shattered viewport, where the wreckage of the human fleet hung motionless, like fallen titans guarding the stars one last time. His comms crackled faintly, ghost signals from broken transmitters repeating fragments of old human codes, voices fading in and out. "We are the Thunder. Hold the line." Reth closed his eyes, pressing a trembling hand to the console. "They did it," he whispered. "They saved everyone." The emotion in his voice cracked. His crew sat in silence, staring at what remained of the fleet that had come like a storm and vanished like a legend. Days passed before rescue ships arrived from the outer colonies. Thousands of survivors were found drifting, humans. Rebels, civilians, and all scattered but alive. The Dominion fleets had collapsed, their command systems shattered, their rulers gone, and across the galaxy, the news spread like fire. The humans destroyed the Starbreaker. Voices cried on every world. The humans saved us. Yet when Reth stood on the recovery station above Drakkar, he couldn't celebrate. He stared at the holographic memorial displaying the names of fallen ships, thousands of them, The entire 7th Human Fleet. Gone. Admiral Caravos, missing, presumed dead but deep inside. He didn't believe she was gone. Her last words before the storm echoed in his mind. Hope endures. Weeks later, strange readings began appearing near the outer edges of the veil. Energy signatures too clean to be natural. Scientists called it radiation, but Reth knew better. He took a small shuttle alone and followed the signal, through dust clouds and dying suns until he found it. A single ship drifting silently. The HFS Resolute, cracked and dark, yet still whole. He boarded it through a broken airlock. His boots echoed in empty corridors. Lights flickered weakly. The once vibrant ship now cold as stone. But as he reached the command deck, he froze. A faint blue glow shimmered at the center of the console. A holographic figure appeared, flickering between static. It was Admiral Voss. Not flesh and blood, but data and memory. Her voice soft but clear. "Commander Reth, if you are hearing this." Then the mission succeeded. She smiled faintly. "We were never meant to survive, but humanity was never about survival. We were about legacy." Reth's throat tightened. The hologram continued. "We became something different, something beyond the edge of what you call life. But we never stopped being human, remember this, and thunder fades, but its echo guides those who listen." The light dimmed and the image dissolved, leaving behind only silence and the soft hum of the ship's dying core. Reth stood there for a long time, staring at the stars beyond the cracked glass. Then he whispered softly, "You didn't die, Admiral. You became the storm." He sent a transmission across the newly freed systems, a message in the ancient Earth code. "To every world that can hear me, the humans kept their promise, and they are still watching over us." Across the galaxy, people gathered under open skies, looking up at constellations where the battle once raged, and some swore they heard thunder, soft but real, echoing from the stars. On countless worlds, children asked who the humans were, and their elders smiled through tears, saying, "They were the light that came when the galaxy lost hope." And though no human fleet was ever seen again, the legend lived forever. The day the humans returned like thunder and saved the stars from silence.